Hi everyone, my name is Emily, and I'm the Young Adult Librarian at the Rock Island Public Library. Here is the second episode in our new series of book and movie pairings that we're calling Terrifying Trios. Each month I'll give you 2 horror movie recommendations and a book that complements them. These books and movies will share a theme of some kind, and for episode 2, here's a classic staple of horror movies, blood. Sources for this episode include Wikipedia, the Internet Movie Database, and a film studies class I took in college. Content warning. The movies and book I'll be discussing today contain graphic depictions of murder, including stabbings, electrocution, choking, decapitation, and being shot by many, many arrows, pet death, a mention of child abuse, and of course, blood. Fake, but still. Viewer and reader discretion is advised. So, you may not know this, but William Shakespeare was born in April of 1564. I forgot that fact until after I'd picked the movies for this month, so this actually works out great. Because as it happens, our old friend Billy Shakes wrote plays that inspired both of the films I'll be discussing this month, and the first is Throne of Blood, directed by Akira Kurosawa. Now, the very fact that it's directed by Akira Kurosawa means that this is one of the most critically acclaimed and, I would say, objectively well-done horror movies there is. But it's also very fun. If you're not familiar with Akira Kurosawa, he is a legendary director who created such films as Seven Samurai, Rashomon, and Yojimbo, which are great movies that have in turn inspired many films and filmmakers. Oh, and this movie was inspired by Shakespeare's play Macbeth. So it has ghosts, violent deaths, and of course, ill-fated attempts to conceal murder most foul. The legendary actor Toshiro Mifune stars as Taketoki Washizu, a general in feudal Japan who, after hearing a prophecy that he will become the lord of Spider's Web Castle, and, encouraged by his wife, commits murder. As in the tale of Macbeth, this doesn't end well. Ghosts of the style of Japanese no theater haunt Washizu, and by the end of the film he has been defeated in a truly captivating battle involving real archers shooting real arrows at him. I cannot stress this enough, this was done with real arrows and very skilled archers shooting at actor Toshiro Mifune, and the way he waves his arms in this scene was apparently how he signified where he was going to be, as in, please don't shoot my actual body. This is an incredible scene, because you can feel the intensity of such a dangerous moment. And Toshiro Mifune, along with Isuzu Yamada, who plays Lady Asaji Washizu, are extremely effective at portraying the guilt, ambition, and horror they feel at what their machinations ultimately lead to. Of course, the tragedy of Macbeth is that he and Lady Macbeth make choices and take actions that make the witch's prophecy a reality. Was Washizu's destiny inevitable? Or was it only so because he and his wife come to believe that it must be? Depending on how you interpret these things as a viewer or reader, and depending on which work of Shakespeare you're considering, predestination is something that characters cannot escape, even if they have foreknowledge of events. In trying to accomplish their goals, as in Macbeth, they will achieve a tragic destiny, or, like in Romeo and Juliet, because they are doomed, they ensure their doom by trying to escape it. Which is a very kind of Calvinist way of looking at things, but what would literature as a whole be without harbingers of inevitable doom? Our second movie this month is Theater of Blood, starring Vincent Price, one of the horror genre's most beloved icons. This movie was made in 1973, and it definitely has more gore than the films that Price made in the 50s and 60s. But since all of his characters' murders are based on Shakespearean plays, they are, at least on paper, classy murders. Vincent Price here plays a Shakespearean actor named Edward Lionheart, who faked his death after being snubbed for an award by the London Critics Circle. 2 years after his supposed demise, he begins killing the critics one by one with the help of a group of people without homes who he seems to pay to travel with him, be his on-demand audience for soliloquies, and help him with murder. It really bears repeating that this movie is more violent and realistic than most of Vincent Price's films. The props look convincing. The kills are unsettling, both in their violence and the fact that they recreate scenes from Shakespeare's plays, which Lionheart and the critics know well. Now, this ramps up the tension once the critics' circle members realize that they're being killed off one by one. Even after the first few murders, though, some of the critics aren't especially careful. Honestly, some of the characters in this movie are so dumb that I'm surprised they lived long enough to be murdered by Vincent Price. Of course, it helps that he has a plan, reliable accomplices, and resources at his disposal. Also, I'd say that the critic who is Lionheart's main foil, Peregrine Devlin, maybe misses the point of being a theater critic. He says to Lionheart's daughter that he criticized the actor's performances because he thought he shouldn't just perform Shakespeare, but that a great actor should pursue modern roles too. But is Lionheart good at Shakespeare? For the purposes of this movie, it doesn't matter. He lives and dies by the words of the bard. Now, the book for this month is Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendar Blake. And this is the story of a terrifying spirit who haunts a house in northern Michigan and kills anyone who comes inside. Known as Anna Dressed in Blood for the blood-soaked gown she was murdered in, she's a powerful ghost who's been killing for decades. Every generation, a group of foolish/brave/skeptical teens test the truth of this legend, and whoever enters Anna's old house is inevitably murdered by her ghost. But when a boy named Cass and his mother move to town, Cass is determined to kill the vengeful spirit once and for all. He has the atame he inherited from his father, who was able to banish ghosts before ultimately being killed by a ghost himself. And Cass's mother, who is a kitchen witch, supports his work. Cass is a teen. He has spent the past few years banishing violent ghosts to protect people. But neither Cass nor his mother know how different this particular ghost will be. Anna is so powerful and so cursed that the murderous force that envelops her isn't something that she can really direct exactly. She's trapped in death as she was in life, and when Cass goes into her house to try and stop another teen from getting killed, Anna does murder the boy who entered the house first. But Cass is thrown out of the house by her power, making him the only person to ever survive Anna's wrath. After this, Cass is determined to figure out what she really wants, and why she spared his life. In choosing not to kill Cass, which is important to the plot, obviously, otherwise this would be a much shorter book, Anna begins to reveal who she was in life, a victim of abuse and murder, now possessed by a violent power that is contained within the house she died in. This force is almost entirely beyond her control. Almost. Yes, she's been killing for decades, but in sparing Cass, the arc of her afterlife changes. And the thing is, in this book, it's not just her alone. There's something else going on. There's not just one angry ghost. There's a power beyond her. Cass wonders if there's a way to separate and perhaps save Anna from the murderous power that has made her house into a slaughterhouse and cemetery, because, there's decades worth of bodies in this house. Also, Cass and Anna both have to face what happens when a ghost and a mortal fall in love. One layer of this book, and its sequel, is the notion of Starcrossed Lovers. The specter of Romeo and Juliet hangs over this novel, because you wonder how far these two will go to be together. Anna and Cass know that they can't exactly spend their lives with one another, since one of them is already dead, and to free her from her bloody afterlife, Cass has to banish Anna with his atame, which will kill her permanently. But they care about each other. Cass has never vanquished a spirit that he has personal feelings for, and Anna has never wished to linger in her violent purgatory until now. They can kiss, they can grow close emotionally, but their love could doom them both. Read the book and its sequel if you want to find out how things turn out for these unlucky lovers. Now that we're back to the Shakespearean theme of fate being predetermined, it seems fitting to end with this quote. "These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die, like fire and powder, which as they kiss, consume." Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again next month.